Alright, so in this video we're taking a look at the LDARC EX8 RC transmitter. So this is kind of a beginner-oriented, beginner-targeted transmitter. These guys, LDARC, they used to be called King Kong. They are a little bit late to the game, in my opinion, with this sort of beginner-style transmitter. It would have been better for this to come out like maybe a year ago. They are competing with the likes of the Beta FPV Light Radio 2. This is this one here. It has very similar looking gimbals and sticks, but the feel is quite a bit different. The springs on the Light Radio 2 are kind of mushy and very loose. You may or may not like that. Also, there's issues with the potentiometers on those gimbals for certain batches. The gimbals on EX8 look similar to the Light Radio 2's gimbals, but the springs are much stiffer and not as loose, and just has a overall better feel than those gimbals. But I'm pretty sure that these are potentiometer based gimbals, and eventually those potentiometers will eventually wear out. This comes in at a $60 price point, I believe, currently. Light Radio 2 is about $45. So this is a little bit more. It does come with a screen, which the Light Radio 2 does not have. But this one only does D16 mode. It does work for the ones for the EU and also non-EU regions, and also has a FHSS protocol as well for certain receivers. There is no D8 mode on this one, while there is a D8 mode on the Light Radio 2 version. Not that big of a deal. There's actually, pretty easy to work around that. A lot of the whoops, they come with SPI receivers, and if you happen to have a whoop with a D8 receiver and it's in D8 mode, you just go into Betaflight Configurator and you switch it to D16 mode, and this will bind up with that totally fine. I tested it out, no problems with that working. Now, just looking at the ergonomics of the controller, it's a very slick surface here on the plastic, and when you hold it with two hands, it's fine. I don't think you're going to lose the grip on it, although I would recommend maybe putting some grip tape perhaps on the back here and maybe down here, just to, when you grab it with one hand, it is slippery, and I have dropped it on my desk several times. No damage, but it is slippery if you try to pick it up with one hand. Something to keep in mind. But if you have a little bit of grip tape here or on the back, should be fine. When you hold it with two hands, I don't feel like it's going to slip out at all. Now you have your basic 4 switches here on top. Switch A, B, C, and D. So switch A is a 2-position switch, and then the rest of them are 3-position switches. It's an 8-channel radio, so you have your 4 channels for the sticks here. So it's going to be channel 1, I think, is aileron or roll, elevator for channel 2, and then I think it's AAT at throttle for channel 3, and then rudder is yaw, that's channel 4. Channel 5 is this one, A, 6, 7, and 8, and those are all the channels available. You have an on-off switch here at the bottom. Turn it on here in a second. Scroll wheel and a button here to access the menu and control the settings. The antenna is not removable. It just swing back and forth like this. Does not go around 180 degrees, and you can set a different angle here if you want. You have a USB-C port here for charging the internal or the batteries in the back here. I'll show you in a second, and a trainer port. The USB port here does not act as a joystick, at least not with when you plug it into the computer. It does recognize it as a USB device, but no recognizable driver shows up. It just shows up as like USB serial. So there's no driver currently for this to use it with a simulator, but it's not that big of a deal, because if you have like a whoop or a drone or something you're already practicing this particular controller with, you can bind this up obviously to whatever receiver you're using, and if that's obviously connected to some sort of Betaflight controller or Betaflight flight controller, and then all you have to do is put in a single command in the CLI to activate the USB joystick mode. And so basically the drone and the flight controller connected to your computer will act as a joystick, and you wirelessly connect to the receiver as you would normally, when you fly your drone. I have a whole video on how that works. I did actually demonstrate it with the Tiny Hawk, one of the Tiny Hawk models, I forget, one of the ones with the RTF kit, and that also had a controller that did not work with joystick, or did not work as a joystick on your computer, but you can get this to work with a simulator that way. It's pretty easy to do, and they also have another version of this, another bundle, where you can get a wireless USB dongle for simulators, and it also comes with a receiver as well. But actually, you don't really need that one either. If you have a drone that you're already connecting this to, connect it up to your computer, follow that other tutorial. I'll link that down in the description. You can get this to work with pretty much any drone and any simulator that way, and I know for sure that works. Now in the back here, not a whole lot, just the cover for the battery, and there's a little foam here so the battery doesn't rattle around. The battery does not come plugged in from the factory, which is fine, but getting this in plugged in, it was a kind of a hassle. There's a clip there to hold it in so it doesn't pop off, which you don't want to happen when you're flying around. So it does prevent it from popping out, but it does make the battery difficult to get in. It's a pretty small battery here. It's what is this here? 600 milliamp hour, 1S, and you know there's a lot of extra room in here. It's in here. You can see that there's plenty of extra room here, so you could use a bigger battery if you want to change this battery out for a bigger one. That's why the foam is in here so it doesn't rattle around. You can probably get about 1 to 2 hours depending on how far away you're flying in terms of power on time with this battery. I don't think you'll have too many issues with that. And then obviously there's a lot of these 1S 600 milliamp hour batteries. You can get a replacement pretty easily. But if you want to put a bigger one here, you can do that if you want to extend your power on time. There's a little screw hole here. Looks like maybe like an M2, no, it looks like an M3 hole. Perhaps you could stick something in here to maybe add a screen or something like that on the back. And it does, obviously, like I said, it charges off the USB-C, it charges up that battery there. Turn on the controller, like so. Wait for it to boot up. This is not running OpenTX, so it's like some sort of proprietary system, but basically use a scroll wheel to go through the different things here. You can change the username here if you want. There's a main menu here. This is where you can change your RF type. So I have a D16 non-EU. You go down here, there's the FH2S, D16 LBT, and D16 non-EU. So that's what I was using. This one here, you can change. Oh, when you change the protocol, it reboots the controller. Okay, so when you change your RF type, it will reboot the controller. Change your power here, 25 milliwatts or 100 milliwatts. In terms of range, I didn't have any issues with 100 milliwatts in most of the places I would fly at. You know, if you're looking for lots of range, this is not the radio for you. I would recommend something else like the Jumper T-Lite and going with like Express LRS, something like that. But if you're a beginner and you're concerned about range, I wouldn't be too concerned, because as a beginner I wouldn't be flying that far away anyway. And 100 milliwatts on this one should be fine for you. And then of course to put this into bind mode, go into here, press bind. It'll put this into bind mode, and then you obviously have to put the receiver into bind mode as well, and then they'll connect up. There's a timer here, so you can click on this. I currently have it turned off because it is controlled by the throttle and some other factors, but if you turn it on, these are the different things. So when you have your timer on for throttle at a certain time, it will give you a warning saying that, you know, you can use that to give you like a audible or vibration feedback. If you're setting a timer for like your flight, if you know that your battery's going to die in 3 minutes, then you want to set this to 3 minutes. Pretty easy to do. You can set that here, warning, etc., and also the time limit. But I don't usually fly with that, so I turned that one off. It's actually on by default. You can change your different trims here. See, they're highlighted, and you scroll here. And then the main menu here, you can click on your channel monitor, so you can see the different channels and how they are functioning. Also, you can see if they're centered or not, if it goes out of calibration. You can reverse any of the channels if for whatever reason you need to, but in normal circumstances you don't need to reverse anything. The RGB setting is for the settings for this light here on the scroll wheel. LCD You can change your brightness and contrast of the screen here. Also the timeouts when the light turns off if you want to save battery. Transmitter settings. So here you can change it from mode 1 or mode 2. I believe this also is sold in mode 1 if you need mode 1. I got the mode 2 version, and then calibration is to start the stick calibration if you find that the sticks aren't centering or if they're not actually working properly. Although out of the box they didn't have any problems. They seem to be, they don't have a lot of jitter. Like if you let go of the sticks, they don't float around and stuff. But I did notice that sometimes they don't center properly, and you'll have, if you're flying around, it probably isn't going to be a big deal, but sometimes if you let go of the stick, it doesn't center 100% of the time. So that could be, you know, the fact that they're using some cheap potentiometers on this particular model. And then it shows you the version number here. I think there are firmware updates that you can apply in the future. But again, this is not an OpenTX radio, so if you're looking for an OpenTX radio, then this is not for you. Anyway, so overall, it's an okay model. I think it's better than the Lite Radio 2, even though it doesn't have the D8 mode. At this price point at about $60, it's an okay value. I think that if you think you're going to be in the hobby for a little bit longer, I would recommend saving up a little bit more money and getting something like the Jumper T-Lite. This is my radio that I use on a daily basis, my daily driver. I've been using it for several months now, and it's a great radio. It runs OpenTX. It has its own set of issues. I have a series of videos on this particular radio, but it's much better than the this EX8. And if you're going to be around the hobby for a while, if you think you're going to be you know, wanting more range later, more capabilities, maybe moving up to OpenTX, then you will definitely want to save up money for this one. Although currently this is coming in around $90 if I'm not mistaken, so it is a fairly substantial jump up in price from $60 to $90. It's another $30, so that's 50% more. But if you're pretty sure you want to stick around, then I would recommend going with the T-Lite. If you're not really sure you're going to stick around, and maybe you just want to fly some whips around the house, you know, just some micros here and there at the park, you know, not too far away, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, I don't have a problem recommending this radio for that particular case. If you know you're not going to be going beyond that, you just want to do some casual flying, this is going to be fine for that. Especially if you're flying indoors, like whip races and stuff like that, it should be totally fine for that. Although I am a little concerned about the quality of these gimbals, because these look like they're the same ones from that they're on the Lite Radio 2, and I know that the potentiometers in those aren't very good. So, that's a long-term thing that I obviously can't tell you. Usually those problems don't come out for about anywhere from 4 to 6 months after you've bought the radio. So that's another thing. You know, if you know you're going to be around for longer than that and you don't want to be getting a new radio, maybe it would be better to invest in the T-Lite, which has much better gimbals, has Hall sensor gimbals. They're going to last a lot longer and not give you trouble in the future. So again, you know, it is $30 more, but if you are looking for something a little bit more long term, that's what I would recommend. If you know you're not going to be going down that route and you just don't really want to spend the money, then this should be fine for the short term. For the long term, I'm not 100% sure. So you know, take that with a grain of salt, because I'm not sure if I'm going to be using this much anymore. I'm probably going to be giving this away at some point in the future. And those of you guys know that I've been doing my giveaways. They're just links that are in my videos. So if you watch my videos, every once in a while the giveaway links will pop up, and you just have to be on the lookout for them if you want to pick this up. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Talk to you guys in the next one.